Hi.
Hi.
Hola.
Okay. Thank you for meeting with us. Because it's such a short time frame before we have to meet all these deadlines, I wanted to talk to you guys on declaration writing because unfortunately they're not looking good. They're looking bad. So maybe it's a matter of talking about what is the issues or how can we fix them and make them better. So I have here one. Cynthia Nunez. I'm going to share the screen. And these came to my attention because the evidence, the people who review the documents after they see you guys found these issues. And it's taking way too long time for us to review them. So, all right, here's el que tengo yo, Cynthia Juarez. It's, it's pretty bad grammatically. I always think that purpose in life is always by his side. I'd like to mention, so grammatically, they have issues. They have issues. I don't know what if it is, if you have problem translating your thoughts into English or not, but I really want you guys to make sure you read these before you send them over. I know you guys have a lot of things to do, and that's why I was like, if it's too much, let me know, and I'll pass on this task to somebody else. And so Ashley here, because she was just starting to make changes on these and rewrite them, I said, no, I don't want you just to redo it. We need to make sure they know that these have issues. So, and then I thought, well, maybe it's because don't understand the purpose of the provisional waiver of what it is. And definitely these are kind of love letters, kind of, I guess, that you want to express how much they love their spouse, how much they need their spouse to stay here, how much they need to be waived and perdonados. But at the same time, it's also more important just to show how much they would suffer that hardship if their spouse was not able to stay here. So we have a questionnaire here, but it's not as it's not just one case ever fits anything. These are, hardship declaration guidance. The whole point of the waiver, again, is to show how the U.S. citizen spouse or the legal permanent resident spouse is going to suffer when this person is away. And that is physical, mental, emotional, financial hardship. We combine everything. Anything to make this person, if the spouse is a little bit more prone to being hurt or being upset because they've suffered past trauma, we need to include that. Any past trauma, any things to make them seem more lastimados or more prone to be lastimados, more that they're going to suffer more of a weaker person and more reasons they need this person here. We need to include anything and everything in there. It needs to be a complete sad story as to why. Okay, so background. I always like to include how they met because sometimes they meet in interesting circumstances. Sometimes their dating has issues. Maybe her background is, and maybe not just the background of how they met, but background on my person. Like if I was, with somebody, maybe I've in the past been married before. Maybe personally, my spouse abused me in the past, my previous spouse. Maybe I suffered lost child. Maybe I suffered from an illness. Anything to make this person seem again that they're more likely to be hurting so much more, and why they need their spouse as them for their support and to comfort. So when did you come together? How known? Basic information. Okay. Obviously, medical is the easy thing. And not only do we say, yes, I've been diagnosed with diabetes or I have cancer, we want to talk about their feelings as well. How if they're afraid, how they feel when they have this illness, how much time consuming this illness is, what are their fears if this illness gets worse or comes back. How is their spouse help them take care of them? They calm their fears, they provide health insurance, they help them take their medications, they help them go exercise, they make sure they cook well, take their medications. We want to include that big picture, not only how bad their condition is, and it's always okay to make it more flowery, but we also want to make sure how important is their spouse it is. If their health insurance are in the United States, why they can't move to another country, if they're going to have health insurance over there, their fears of the healthcare quality outside of the United States and why they can't. Those are all good questions. If their children have any medical.
Hey, Lorena.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Ashley and Esther can't get on for some reason.
Okay. I am recording this.
It's saying that you need to allow them in.
Oh, let me get in. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. I can do that. Oh, I see. Admit. Okay. We should be good. And I brought in everybody because I want everybody who reviews these declarations to know what we're looking for in these declarations. That's why I ask other people to come in. They review it because the more it gets done at the very beginning, the less I have to, or the people at top have to review it, which is where we have a lot more, less time to do things because we have other stuff going. So I was just mentioning how background needs to be, include their past trauma, their past problems, their childhood traumas, their traumas they had with their parents. One big thing is many times these spouses or they don't have a parent. Their parent abandoned them. Their parent, they weren't raised with the dad. They weren't raised with the mom. So which makes it why so much more important why they want to keep their family together. Maybe they were a victim of sexual assault when they were a child. Again, they finally are able to trust a new partner. Well, you want to include that information, background information, medical things, everything that makes their illness, why they need to stay here, because their doctor's here, they're comfortable with their doctor, because their condition may return, because the healthcare outside of the country is bad. We want to include that stuff. Have they have any close family members? Do their children have medical conditions? Do their parents have medical conditions? Are they the caretaker, which makes them need to stay here, which is why they can't relocate with their spouse to another country, or why they depend on their spouse to provide for them because they're not able to work because they're caretaking their child who has special needs, or their parents who is in a nursing home or something. Mentally, how will they be effective? Obviously, most of the clients are going to say this. I'm going to feel bad. How will you feel if your spouse is not with you? Oh, I'm going to feel bad. Bad is a conclusion. Good is a conclusion. Those are not good words that we need to be using. We need to be using words of description. If the client just says bad, this is where we tell to them, oh, you mean bad as in like you're going to be really sad, like you're not going to be able to get out of bed every day, like you're going to be crying all the time, like you're going to feel so lonely, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be stressed because you're going to be the only caretaker of your children. Good, bad, well, those are conclusions. We always need to put in more descriptors. We can always use examples. Sometimes the clients are not going to tell us these things. So we can offer these examples to them. And I guarantee you, they're all going to say, yeah, that's how I'm going to feel. Put that down, include that. Okay, financial consideration. Who works in the house? Who is the caretaker? Okay, so-and-so might be the spouse, the one that makes money. How does the other person contribute to it, even though maybe they don't work? Do they take care of the kids? Do they keep the house clean? Now, if you weren't there, even though I was housewife, how will my husband be effective? He's going to be effective because now he's going to have somebody pay for a babysitter, pay for daycare. It's things that he can't afford on his budget, things like that. These are some other ones if they don't speak English or they don't speak Spanish in their home country. If they have a lot of debts, if they owe money, again, why they need two people working out of the household, that needs to be included as well. So those are some examples, but it's just really important just to paint the big picture of everything, to be like, we want this person, when they read the declarations, to be very upset, the officer, and to be like, yeah, they deserve it. So it's important to paint those big pictures of things. And it's important to use examples and be specifics or stuff. Do you need U.S. courts anyway? Child support. Sometimes people have kids with another father, and in their divorce decrees, they can't leave the country with a child. That needs to be included in things like that. Those are things to look for when they say, oh, but they have a separate dad. If they have a separate dad, that means it's probably very hard for them to just pick up and move to Mexico or to Guatemala or wherever, if this child has a different father. So, anybody, Alyssa, do you have anything else to add? Or Ashley or Esther, can you guys, any other examples that you guys have seen?
I have found that with the medical staff, if they have medical issues, they're going to have medical bills. And so maybe including that, well, I have stacks and stacks of outstanding medical bills, have them get into that of how much debt they are having, or even school stuff or whatever outstanding bills they have. Or for example, if they are sharing income, how it's going to affect them in ways, just writing up everything, every reason or everything that they said, there's a why or a how behind it. So as long as we get that included, it can help me in the cover letter writing it again.
Yeah, and those how those bills, how they stress them out and you know, have added extra stress to them, make them feel horrible, and why they really need to stay here working. Both of them, they need both incomes. So yeah, that's a good example. Yeah.
I think something right now that we can definitely use is the whole COVID thing, especially when kids are having to stay at school virtually, or one of the parents might have to like leave their job or something, you know, kind of just milk that right now that we can.
Yes, those are great examples. Yes, because of COVID, extra care has needed for the children. You can't just go take them to daycare. They're not going to school. A parent needs to stay back to take care of them. Also traveling, being able to see their spouse, to travel overseas to go see them or internationally. It's not easy because of COVID. They might close the borders. There is a possible contagious. That's an extra fear of it. So COVID is good. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, so those are my things. Let's look beyond just what's written on these declarations. Maria will be seeing this video, so also when she's going to be doing a declaration, I want her to be digging for this information too and put it on there, so it's less of a digging for you, Oscar and Dulce. And I understand you guys are jumping in this and I didn't have this properly organized for you guys. We're going to do that. And I might have somebody else come in and do some more declaration writing too as base. I might get other team members to do that as well. I'm working on it, but for now, these ones you guys are working on, let's try to get these information and get them more thorough and more, just look things over too before you bring them over to us. Just read them over. I know English is not your first language, but it's definitely some improvement can be done in there. So, okay, so that is for the 601A. For those are for all the waivers. Now for the VAWA, this of course is, you know, 601A is more, oh, I really love my spouse. I really love my parent. I can't leave them. The 360s, the VAWA is completely different, right? We, you know, if they're still together with their spouses, if they're still together with their child or anything, that's about love. I love them. And I feel like I can't leave them. I have to stay together because of our family. I just can't leave my children behind. I don't want to do that to them. I know this is not a good relationship, but I'm still hoping every day that things change and things improve. That's an example on how to bring them in. But then you're going to be showing examples of how the mistreatment comes in all of those. They treat me bad is not a good way of putting things. We want to say, how do they treat you bad? Every time you put a sentence, think, are you describing enough of the how? How are they treating you bad? Oh, they're constantly checking on me. I feel like I'm being spied. When I'm out with my friends and I can't enjoy it and I think things are good, she just calls and she gives me that tone, and I know that tone. That tone means she's very angry and I don't like making her angry. I don't know. Those are examples of that stuff. So, okay. Do we have any other questions? And of course, on the hardship declaration for the VAWA, we have that one too. And those should be also available on here. Those are guidance again. Don't necessarily mean you stick to the script. Anytime somebody checks marks and says, yes, my parents were separated when I was growing up or whatever, be like, oh, and how did that make you feel? Or did you suffer anything? Was it a struggle to be with separated parents? Did you suffer any childhood trauma? Yes. What kind of trauma? What was it? How did that make you feel? Does that still affect you right now? When you think about it, does it make you feel sad? Have you been a victim of a past crime? Because sometimes that just, somebody who's already suffered trauma, and then they, you know, are in another traumatic experience, well, it's going to be a lot greater trauma because they've already been prone to it. They're more susceptible to it. They've just gotten it more. Okay, psychological abuse. That's a big part. Most of us are psychological abuse. These are some examples, but there's plenty more. Don't have to stick to it. Okay. Anytime again, yes, of these, we need to get information. Does your spouse make you feel like you're crazy? Yes. Okay, how so? They call me and they tell me I'm crazy. That's a good example. You know, how does that make you feel? It makes me feel like I'm crazy. That's not good. Nobody should feel they're crazy when they're not crazy. Okay. I think the I-360s, although sometimes it's harder to find these things, it is our job to create them, to find something and build on it. Always behind any bad incident of abuse or trauma, we have to ask the client how they're feeling. And if they say, it doesn't make me feel that bad, question that. because maybe they haven't really thought about it. Really? It doesn't make you feel bad? The bad that when somebody calls you dumb, that doesn't make you feel bad? Are you dumb? No. You think it's a joke? Okay. Well, would you like your children to be called dumb? Would you like your spouse to be called dumb? No. Okay. Then why are you okay being able to be called dumb? And most time by that time, they're like, well, I don't like it. I just accepted it. That's an example. Okay. Okay. I think that's good. Anything else to add? Anybody? Or any questions on how you need to approach something? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it doesn't have to do with declarations. I have a few things, though, generally on casework.
Yes. Okay. I think so. If we're done with talking about declarations.
But if anyone else has declarations, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just based on this questionnaire, I look at this questionnaire, whether it be for the waivers or a VAWA that I'm working on, to look for evidence. So the more that we can get on these questionnaires, it helps me what I'm gonna ask as far as evidence go when putting the packet together.
That's true. We rely on it. Those questionnaires, so much information. And I know I get, like me and Alyssa, we get some of this information in our consultation notes. So feel free to always look at those consultation notes, because I put in background in there. I try to ask some things, you know, about any past issues they have. Usually if they tell me that, that's going to be included in there, especially if it's in the provisional waiver. I put some information on there. And I know some of these are older cases and the notes are handwritten and they're not scanned in. So that's our problem. That's our bad. So yeah, but we're getting on it. We're working on it. So, and obviously always feel free to look at past examples or other VAWA cases that we have submitted, so you can kind of see the flow of things, what needs to be included, what things you're looking for. So, okay. Any other declaration issues? No. Okay. Go, Alyssa. Forms.
Okay, so first of all, and maybe this is a little bit on us, that those of us who are signing things should have mentioned this, but especially when you are doing something like a naturalization or helping someone renew their green card or renew something or a card, we often have worked on their case before, and we have a lot of information. And it's understandable when clients get irritated that we call them and ask for all this information that they know we already have, because we've already submitted it to USCIS. And I'll try to, I for one will try to do a better job of letting you know when there are other cases, but you can always just search the person's name in Dropbox and see what other files there may be for them, what other forms or evidence may be in Dropbox that you're just not looking at that folder right now. Or message a team member or an attorney if you're not sure, and we can double check. And that avoids kind of irritating the clients with unnecessary questions, and it makes our process go a lot faster, because we already have the information. We don't need to hunt it down. We don't need to bother the clients for it. And like I said, that's especially true of like a naturalization case or renewals. It's not always true, but it often is,
And 751s too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Essentially, if somebody already has some kind of status, but we're renewing it or moving it to like the next step of status or whatever, there's a good chance we've worked on their case before and already have a lot of stuff. Now, on the flip side of that, I think we have a lot of stuff in physical folders that is not in Dropbox. And I'm not being hypocritical here, because I am making myself do this too. For everybody who has the physical file and is working on it, it is your responsibility to make sure that that stuff is in Dropbox. You're working on the file already. And like I said, I'm already doing this. I have a bunch of files in here. I'm doing waivers. I'm doing stuff just to help things move along. And I take the time, sometimes it takes half an hour to digitize it and, reorganize Dropbox with the new folders that we're using to make it clearer and better to use, and making sure all of that evidence and the sign-up documents and everything is in Dropbox. If you have the file, it's your responsibility to do that, because Dulce and Oscar can't, how would they know that we have those documents if they're not in Dropbox? Certainly you can always ask. You can message whoever has the file and ask, but I think we all, yeah, we need to do a big digitization and like do all of our files, but that's hundreds of files. And we can't just wait for like the projects manager to have time to do that in the future. We need to work together to get as much done as we can just along the way. So that's something that everyone in the, on the team can do to make sure that everyone has access to all of the information we already have, which is going to move things faster and help us be more correct. And clients are going to like us a lot better because we're not wasting their time as much.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
most of what I had.
Yeah. And then
Also, my case, please put things in my case.
yeah, I know. And I'm guilty of this, and I'm going to do a better job of that. And digitizing files, I certainly don't have time for it. And I certainly don't want Alyssa to be spending a lot of time to it. So I'll make sure to distribute to members here in the office to do that. But obviously that will help out Oscar and Dulce in any virtual assistants we have. So, okay. Any other questions we have? Questions, concerns? Okay, I think that's it. All right, thank you so much. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to post in the Slack channel Immigration News so then everybody can learn from your question at the same time, because sometimes your question might not be unique to somebody. So thank you. All right, bye. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.